Welcome back. You are tuning in to the Diabetes Digital Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Today, we are going to talk about carb counting. Welcome to the Diabetes Digital Podcast. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Jess, and we're best friends, registered dietitians, and diabetes educators.
Through our telehealth platform, diabetesdigital.co, we offer accessible and personalized virtual nutrition counseling for people with diabetes and prediabetes.
Visit diabetesdigital.co, that's C-O, to book your first appointment. We accept insurance and offer affordable self-pay options. Now, let's get into today's episode.
A lot of you have told us, I don't want to count carbohydrates. Is there anything else that I can do? And the short of it is yes, there are a few things that you can do, and you don't have to count carbohydrates. I will say that if you have type 1 diabetes, if you're using insulin, it might be helpful to count carbohydrates because you have to match your carbs with the amount of insulin that you're going to be using if you're insulin dependent. Now, for many of you, that's not the case. You have prediabetes, you might be using some medication, oral medication, injectables, but it's not necessarily insulin. And so in that case, there are a few other strategies that I want to go over with you that can be helpful when it comes to blood sugar management. And the first one is going to be the visual. So if you think of your plate, you want to aim for half of your plate being non-starchy vegetables, and then the other half is going to be equal parts protein and carbohydrate. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's say you have a beautiful green salad and you have it with some salmon and some rice or some potatoes. Beautiful. That is a balanced plate with all of the macronutrients. Even better if you add avocado to it so that you can have some healthy fats. I will say that for many cultures, it's not broken up in that way. Like in my culture, a lot of macronutrients are cooked together. So you might have a stew that has some chicken and it also has potato, or it might even have vegetables. And so in that case, let's say you want to make a chicken stew, right? And you want to add some chopped potatoes in there. So you can have that as your carbohydrate and protein, and then you can have it with the side salad, or you can have it with roasted vegetables, or you can even toss the vegetables in there, and that is a complete plate. You just want to make sure that most of the food in that plate is coming from those non-starchy vegetables. Another tool that can be helpful is the hand method. So with the hand method, you can use your fist to estimate about how many carbs you'll be eating. So let's just say a fistful of rice, and then you open up that fist and your palm is going to be the amount of protein you're going to be having. And then you have a thumb of fat, and that could be a drizzle of olive oil. That could be a couple slices of avocado. That's another way to do it that doesn't necessarily involve counting all of your carbs. Because a lot of people prefer a visual, flexible approach, and carb counting can be stressful. And the next thing you know, your blood sugars are going up from the stress of having to carb count. And we definitely don't want that to happen. Another tool that you can use is logging your blood sugar. This can help you without doing all of the math around carbohydrate counting. So if you use a CGM, that's one thing that'll help you visualize, okay, this meal was associated with this post-meal glucose number. If you're using a glucometer, it's the same. It's a little more tedious because you have to prick yourself after every meal. With the CGM, you kind of just set it and forget it. But these are both tools that you can use to look at your numbers and see, okay, this is how I'm responding to different meals, because everyone is completely different. Like, you have one person where they eat white rice and it really doesn't have much of an effect, whereas for another person, it's the opposite. So you really want to make decisions around food that are individual to you, because what works for, fulano, that's what we say, DR, fulano is like so-and-so, it might not work for you. Also, make sure that for the carbohydrates that you are eating, they have a good amount of fiber in them. There are some carbs that are refined, like for example, white rice is a refined carbohydrate, and that's fine. And you can have that as long as you're pairing it with your protein and, your fiber-rich foods. But there are also carbohydrates like sweet potato, like butternut squash, for example, that have fiber in them and are going to have more of a balancing effect. So make sure that you're also including those and you're pairing them with your protein, with your fat, with your fiber for a balanced meal. And if there's anything that you take from this episode is that you don't have to cut out carbohydrates. It is normal for your blood sugar to go up when you eat carbohydrates. Because some people, they start tracking their glucose and they're like, oh my God, my blood sugar went up when I ate a piece of fruit or when I had some cereal. And that's a normal response. Of course, with people that have insulin sensitivity, it's going to go up a lot more. That's why we want to make informed decisions around food. But it is normal for it to go up when you do eat carbohydrates. That doesn't mean you have to cut out carbohydrates. That just means that we want to pair them strategically with foods that are going to have a balancing effect, like some of, the protein and fat options that we went over, eating high fiber meals. That's going to help a lot. And also movement. That's one of the most helpful things that you can do when you do have your meals, especially if they're more carb heavy meals. Go for a walk afterwards. Try to do some kind of movement around the house because that's going to help your post meal numbers as well. So I hope you found this episode helpful. If you want to work with one of our dietitians to help with meal support or to answer any other questions that you might have, go to diabetesdigital.co/quiz. Most people pay $0 out of pocket with insurance, and you can make an appointment and see one of our dietitians in as little as 24 hours. So thanks for listening in, and I will catch you next time. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. If you're interested in nutrition counseling with one of our expert dietitians to help improve your prediabetes or diabetes, visit us at diabetesdigital.co.
Also, if you found our conversation helpful, do us a favor and rate and review this podcast on iTunes, plus share with someone who might find this helpful. You can also connect with us on Instagram at diabetesdigital.co.
And tune in every Wednesday for practical, inclusive, and culturally humble diabetes insights. We'll catch you later. Bye.